Hi, boys and girls. It's Miss Kelly, and we are going to be starting social studies. So I wanted to sort of introduce our book to you, and we're going to get right started with chapter 1. Our textbook this year is called History Alive, America's Past. And when you are at school, you will receive a copy of the textbook for you to use this year, and you can take that back and forth from home and to school. So we're going to get started on chapter 1 today, and chapter 1 is all about geography, and geography is sort of the study of the earth and how the earth's surface affects human life and civilization and history. And the first picture that we see in our book is a picture of a side of the earth. I'm not sure if anybody recognizes what this is looking at, but this would be a view of the earth from space. So if we were up in a space shuttle and we were orbiting the earth and we peeked out the window, this is what we might see. Now, at the bottom of the page, it says, these lakes are bordered by which two countries? And there's a little picture there. Now, typically on maps, you probably know that water is represented by the color blue. So if you look at the picture and kind of try to match it up, I see right over here some blue that looks like the same shape as what is in the picture. So does anybody know what these lakes are? Have you ever seen them on a map before? Do you know what countries border these lakes? Well, these are known as the Great Lakes. The Great Lakes, and there are 5 of them, and we will talk about them later on in the school year when we are learning about the 50 states. But these are the Great Lakes, and the Great Lakes are bordered by, on the north, the country of Canada, and on the south, the United States. So the Great Lakes are bordered on the north by Canada and on the south by the United States. Now, the other picture says, what state is this? And kind of looking here, and I see that this state is kind of sticking out into what appears to be water. So I'm going to go back up to the map. And I think that is looking right about over here. Does anybody know what state that is? That is the state of Alaska. Alaska is a U.S. state. Now, it is not connected to what we call the lower 48 states, which are down in here. This is Canada. This is Alaska up here. So it's not connected. There's another state that is not connected to the 48, what we call the continental United States. Does anybody know the other state besides Alaska that is not connected to the other 48? Well, if you said Hawaii, you are correct. And Hawaii is located out in the Pacific Ocean. Hawaii is a chain of islands that is not connected to the other 48 states. So we will be learning about the 50 states. We will start that when you are in school. We're going to start out with the New England states first. But this is just a little bit of a introduction to geography and map skills. You can use maps for many different purposes, to locate places, to find directions. And we're going to begin our study of geography by talking a little bit more about why we and how we use maps. So this is actually a picture of your textbook. So when you get your textbook tomorrow in class, you will be able to see this page. So chapter 1 is titled Geography of the United States. So geography of the United States. Now, in the first section of our chapter, which is the introduction, we're going to talk a little bit about what geography is, what that word means. And we're going to do a little bit of introduction about some terms or some words that you might hear throughout the chapter that have to do with geography. Okay, before learning about the history of the United States, you need to know something about our country's geography. Geography comes from a Greek word meaning writing about or describing the earth. Geography is the study of our physical and cultural surroundings. Geographers study our natural surroundings. They tell us the locations of places and describe plants, bodies of water, and landforms. So, just to summarize that chapter, geography is the study of the land and the landforms and everything around it. So, when they say our physical and cultural surroundings, physical surroundings would be things like lakes, rivers, mountains, plains. Cultural surroundings would be places like cities, towns, okay? And those are the things that you study in geography. Geography helps to explain how humans interact with their natural surroundings. For example, geographers study how mountains prevent people from moving easily from one place to another. Learning about the geography of the United States will help you to understand our country's history. So they mentioned here about mountains preventing people from moving easily from one place to another. What do you think that means? How do mountains prevent people from moving easily from one place to another? Think about that for a minute. Well, in order to, if you don't have an airplane, in order to get across a mountain range, you would have to walk, right? You would have to walk. So you would have to cross the mountains on foot, on horseback, right? With the horse and carriage, with a wagon. And if you think about that, that's probably pretty hard to do. So mountains definitely would have an impact on history and the way that people travel and the way that people get from one place to another. And they also mentioned that learning about geography helps you to understand our country's history. So we have to understand where our country is located on the earth, what surrounds it, what kind of landforms we have, so that when we start talking about our history, you'll understand why some things happened the way that they did. So, for example, some of the early settlements in the United States are along the East Coast, right along the Atlantic Ocean. Why? Well, because it was easy for people to cross the ocean in a ship, and the ship would dock or land, and the people would get off the ship, and wherever they were, that's where they would sort of set up a little village, or sort of establish that they were going to stay there. So they stayed near the water because it was easy for them to travel back and forth by boat. In this chapter, you will learn some geography skills for reading and understanding maps. You will begin by learning how to read a globe. A globe is the most accurate map of the earth. You will then learn how to use latitude and longitude to find any place on earth. Next, you will learn 14 geographic terms. These terms are used to describe bodies of water, such as bays, and landforms, such as islands. Finally, you will learn about 15 physical features of the United States, such as the Mississippi River and the Great Plains. Look at the picture of the globe on this page. This part of the globe shows the United States. As you read this chapter, look back at this globe. How can you use a globe to find places? How does a globe help you to better understand the United States? Well, I don't know if you have a globe at home, but we have a globe in our classroom that we're going to take a look at. And the globe is shaped like a sphere. It is round on all sides. It is the shape of the earth, because we know the earth, even though when we look at a map, the map is flat. Sometimes the map has little bumpy parts on it. That's called a relief map. But the globe really shows us the shape of the earth. So here is another picture of a globe, and it looks like somebody took a saw or a knife and just went and sliced this globe right in half, either sideways or up and down. So now in this section, we're going to talk more about the globe. We're going to learn a little bit more about it and a little bit more about how we use it to find places on the earth. Section 1.2 is understanding the globe. Earth is a huge sphere, like a ball. Most maps that show Earth's surface are flat. A globe, though, is a sphere. Only a globe is a true, accurate map of Earth. The most northern point on Earth is the North Pole. The North Pole, which would be right up here. Okay, the tippy top of the Earth. The most southern point is the South Pole. So that would be all the way down here at the very bottom. No matter where you are on Earth, north is always in the direction of the North Pole. South is always in the direction of the South Pole. When you face north, east is to your right and west is to your left. These directions are the 4 main points on a compass. They are called cardinal points. So north, south, east, west are your cardinal points. Now, I know some of you have learned these in probably previous grades, and a good way to remember the directions, if you're looking at a compass, it sort of just looks like, a cross like that. Never eat soggy W waffles. Never eat soggy waffles. So you can just go right around the compass to remember which direction is where. Points in between the cardinal points are called intermediate points. These points include northeast, that's between north and east, northwest, which is between north and west, southeast, which is between south and east, and southwest, which is between south and west. So those points kind of going diagonally are called intermediate points. Many maps have a symbol that shows all or some of these directions. This symbol is called a compass rose. So if you are looking at a map and you see something that looks like this, that has the direction letters on it, that is the compass rose. And it just lets you, while you're looking at the map, to know, okay, that's north, south, east, west. Well, my directions are backward from what you can see. An imaginary line circles Earth halfway between the North Pole and the South Pole. This line is called the equator. So the equator divides Earth into 2 half spheres called hemispheres. The half of the Earth that is north of the equator is the northern hemisphere. The southern half is the southern hemisphere. So if we go back up, here's the globe. There's where the equator would be. And I always like to think of the equator like a belt, kind of like a belt around the middle of the Earth, right? Above the equator, the north half of the Earth is called the northern hemisphere. So we in the United States, we are in the northern hemisphere. We are north of the equator. The half of the Earth or hemisphere that is south of the equator is called the southern hemisphere. So When you are looking, a lot of times you will say it is in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere. Also, we have the eastern and western hemispheres. Another imaginary line cuts the earth in half from the North Pole to the South Pole. This line is called the prime meridian. You will learn more about meridians in the next section. The half of the earth that is east of the prime meridian is the eastern hemisphere. The half to the west of the prime meridian is the western hemisphere. So let's go back. So here we have the prime meridian would be running right here. Okay, it's that imaginary line that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole and kind of chops the earth in half. Anything to the west, remember our compass rose, here's west. To the west of the prime meridian is the western hemisphere. To the east of the prime meridian is the eastern hemisphere. So places on the earth, you might say they're in the northern hemisphere, the southern hemisphere, western hemisphere, eastern hemisphere. And you could also say, like the United States, we are in the northwestern hemisphere because we are north of the equator. We are west of the prime meridian. A globe of the world shows that we live on a watery planet. More than 70% of Earth's surface is covered by water. That's more than half. So more than half of the Earth's surface is covered by water. Mainly the water of the oceans. Oceans are the largest bodies of water on Earth. The 4 oceans from largest to smallest are the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, the Indian Ocean, the Arctic Ocean. And recently, geographers have also started to acknowledge or identify what's called the Southern Ocean, which is down here. That is not here in our book, but they have started to also refer to this water down here as the Southern Ocean. And this is the compass rose on this map. Okay, so here's the equator. You see it going across the middle. Here's the prime meridian. There's our compass rose. So you can see all of those things on this map. Oceans surround large masses of land called continents. There are 7 continents. You may have learned them before. The 7 continents on Earth from largest to smallest are Asia, Africa, North America, South America, Antarctica, Europe, and Australia is the smallest. And Australia is not only a continent, but it is also a country. Does anybody know what continent we live on? What continent are we on here in the United States? Does anybody know? We are in North America. Okay, here's North America, and the United States is here. If you recognize this little, it's hard to see it, but there is Florida, kind of sticking out like a finger into the Atlantic Ocean. And that's the Gulf of Mexico over here. So that is a little introduction to geography and globes and hemispheres and a compass. Tomorrow when you come to school, I will give you your textbook and we will continue. I'll also give you a packet for chapter 1. Now, because you do not have your packet yet, I have made a Google form that is also linked below with this assignment. So your assignment today is watching this video and completing the Google form. And I know that you do not have your textbook home yet, so what you can do as you're completing the Google form, you can go back in this video. You can rewind the video, go back to the beginning. You can pause it or stop it as you're completing that Google form. Now, once you have your textbook, you'll be able to look at your book. You'll also be able to write the answers in your packet. You won't have to do the Google form. I probably will post photos of the pages just in case you forgot your book or you don't have it, so that you can also see it when I am doing my videos for the remote days. Okay, so now what you're going to do is you're going to open the Google form. You are going to answer the questions, and they're all questions that we just talked about here with our introduction to geography and globes. The answers are all right here. So you can pause or stop the video at any time to look up the answers. Okay, if you have a question or you're not sure of something, you can post a comment below, and when I get a chance and I get to it and take a look, I will answer you. But in the meantime, all you have to do is open that Google form, answer the questions, and don't forget to hit submit. Okay, submit the Google form so that I receive it and I can check your answers. Okay, thank you for watching and listening, boys and girls, and I will see you in class tomorrow. Bye.